Another undercover sting operation, probably his best work to date. Somebody that I think is doing what the old media used to do, what 60 Minutes used to do, and that's James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. And it's a sting operation exposing a number of issues that I think ought to really shake and rattle the conscience of this country in terms of what the Democrats are willing to do to actually get Hillary Clinton elected. Now, the sting exposes what's called bird dogging, which Democrats, this is an effort to incite violence at Trump rallies nationwide throughout the 2016 election cycle. It also seemingly exposes laws that are broken in terms of a collaboration between super PACs, campaigns, and the DNC, which is totally illegal. Anyway, here to explain it in more detail is the man himself, James O'Keefe. How are you, sir?
Hey, Sean. Great to be with you again.
You know, I love having you on. I've said this years ago, and I take heat every time I say something nice about you. You know that. But this is probably, I think, your best work yet. And let me tell you why. I'm imagining that you probably spent close to a year involved in this project. Am I right about that?
Sean, this was by far the most complicated, complex investigation we have ever done. And patience was a virtue. We had 8 full-time undercover people embedded throughout the United States over the course of a year. We had to create aliases. We had to go overseas. We had to recruit people in England. We had to build relationships. This is serious shoe leather journalism exposing the deepest, darkest backroom dealings of the Hillary Clinton campaign and all of her subordinates. And if you watch the video, it goes straight to the White House.
Let me ask you to lay it out in your terms, because you know all the players, all the names, who these people are. And I would urge people, we put it up a link to my website, to your website at Hannity.com. I would urge everybody to take the 15 or 16 minutes this runs and watch the entire thing, because I watched it with about 4 people at the same time, and we all said the same thing. Oh, my God. You know, we knew it was bad. We never realized. This is the art of political dark arts right before your eyes, used by Democrats. But why don't you just walk us through what this all means, what you found, who these players are, and connect the dots to the campaign, the DNC, and to the White House.
Thanks, Sean. So this is basically a first video in a series, a mini-series. It did take us a year to do and produce, of Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee inciting violence at Trump rallies. This is the first topic. Tomorrow we're going to move on to a more sensational topic, but this is pretty bad. They're sending people to events to incite violence, the most disgusting thing you could possibly imagine. They're trying to get people to punch them and to get bloody, and they're going to get that on tape to manipulate the media, and that's exactly what they're saying. This is the Hillary for America campaign, the Democratic National Committee, and third-party operatives, and these are the people you see in the video. People like Bob Kramer, who runs a consulting company in Chicago, who's close with Rahm Emanuel. People like Scott Fogle.
By the way, that guy Kramer, wasn't he the one that got 5 months in prison and a year or 8 months, I guess, home confinement?
Yeah, these are bad people with dark souls who've been in trouble with the law before. But Bob Kramer, the man you just mentioned, he's on conference calls with the White House. In fact, he goes to the White House every week. And our undercover investigative reporter was, in fact, invited to the White House. That's how deep this goes. Now, I couldn't physically go into the White House because I would be breaking a misdemeanor law that says you can't enter federal building using false pretenses. But we were on these conference calls with the White House. You can listen to that in the video. It doesn't get any worse than this, folks.
Who was on the other side? Who was on the White House side of the call?
There was a man in the video. If you watch the video, there was one of the people. We're trying to see if we can get them on a Hatch Act violation because they're not supposed to use official White House resources to promote this thing. But they're on the calls talking about gun control, talking about refugees. The point is, Bob Kramer had a lot of access to the White House, and he speaks with Hillary Clinton's people. He says in the video, in fact, this is Hillary Clinton's idea, some of this, and they contract directly with him. So let me just lay out the players. There's the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democratic National Committee, and Hillary's super PAC, Priorities USA. This video shows smoking gun criminal evidence of illegal campaign coordination.
You also, one of the things that I think was quite disturbing is you even have people on tape. If people go back to March and remember Donald Trump was going to give a speech in Chicago and decided because of the police advice that there was too much violence potential there. You have people on this video saying they did that. And one of the things that they are discussing is this diabolical plot all over the country to infiltrate Trump rallies to advance a false narrative that Donald Trump supporters are violent, and meanwhile they're purposely sending people into every one of these rallies with the designed purpose to start some type of problem at the rallies and giving them scripts and then bragging that, well, we'll pay for their health care, we'll pay for their lawyers, these young people. I mean, who does that? This is like a Linsky 101. It's
diabolical. Our lawyers saw it. We have like 7 lawyers at Veritas here. You can imagine that. And they all said, this is like Watergate. This is what happens in the video if you're a audience. They actually describe, first of all, they say that all the incidents you saw, they're like, that was my guy in Chicago. And there's a couple instances, Chicago, North Carolina, Iowa, and Arizona. At the Iowa State Fair where Scott Walker grabbed the sign out of the dude's hand and he gets roughed up, he says, that was us. He says the 69-year-old female protester at the North Carolina rally where the Washington Post, CNN pushed it as evidence of violence, he says, that was us. Quote, she was one of our activists who had been trained up to bird dog, unquote. That's the quote from the video where the operative describes how it's all a rigged game. And now, today, this is ironic, but the man in the video, one of the dark operatives working for Hillary, his name is Aaron Black. And in fact, today, he tweeted this morning that there's women in front of the Trump Tower this morning holding signs saying Trump demeans women. So what this is, it's illegal because there's illegal campaign coordination, which they acknowledge. They said, quote, I guarantee you the people who run the super PACs talk to each other. So he's describing a crime. And they're also saying something that's so immoral and so unbelievable and such a subversion of democracy. They are literally trying to plant violence at rallies to manipulate the media. And here's the problem, Sean. The media is in on it. So as far as this story goes, I got nowhere to give it to because the media is all indicted. So the grassroots is on fire with it, and to the extent that you can get the video out to your audience, that would be helpful.
Well, I'm doing everything I can do because I found the piece fascinating, and I know that networks have a very different standard, and as much as they have lawyers and they've got to vet through everything. But what they're really saying and what they're really bragging about and calling themselves blanking brilliant is the fact that they are organizing and creating mobs on purpose for the objective of creating a false narrative that Donald Trump rallies are violent. And meanwhile, they're starting all of it. They're bragging about their success. They're bragging about the coordination between the DNC and of course, the Clinton campaign. And as you point out, this even goes to the White House. But at one point in the video, you have people saying, oh, yeah, we talk to the DNC every day. We talk to the Clinton campaign every single day. In other words, this is all coordinated. And you even go through where the money comes from and how they literally basically launder the money to get to these groups and pay these black ops people.
It's unbelievable. Let me read another quote from Bob Kramer. This is the man married to Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, visits the White House, is on conference calls with the White House and the Hillary campaign. He said, quote, this is in the video, quote, I'm a consultant to the Clinton campaign. Wherever Trump or Pence go, we make sure that there are events in the TV market or wherever. So he's illegally coordinating with the campaign because he works with a nonprofit organization. Nonprofits and super PACs are not supposed to coordinate, and this is smoking gun. So he says it's approved by Hillary through the chain of command. And this man, so your audience understands, this is not a low-level person. This is not an Acorn employee. They don't get any bigger. This is the political operative in Chicago describing how the game works, and it's such an indictment of the system. And I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, the quote after quote after quote, the dark money conspiracy.
Well, here's how the money goes. You describe it. The rapid response money, as they call it, for the dark arts, and the campaign pays the DNC. The DNC pays Democracy Partners. Democracy Partners pay the Foval Group, and they execute all of this on the ground. So basically, it's just the money flows right to them directly from people that know that it's happening. How did you get these guys to brag on camera like this? That's what shocked me.
Sean, it was the process of this was unprecedented. We actually had to create an overseas shell company. Nothing we did was illegal. I can guarantee you that. We ran this by so many lawyers. I remember when you had me on TV 7 years ago, you said, James, you got to cross your T's and dot your I's. We ran this by every lawyer, but we actually set up an overseas company in Belize, and we built a relationship with one of their guys. We set up a fake consulting group. We infiltrated. We had the donor's niece get a job in the office of Kramer. We had 8 people over a year having many conversations until these guys trusted us like their brother. And they leaked information to us, and they told us things that shocked the conscious. And this is just the first video. I mean, this is part 1. Part 2 is probably sexier, although part 1, you've got them breaking the law. It's clear. And there are people, as I speak, filing complaints with the FEC on this. I don't know what else you could possibly get. But the process of it was building relationships for a year, and that's what journalists are supposed to do.
Yeah, but you know what? I think you're showing journalists how to do their job, which they don't want to do. It is amazing when you juxtapose this to all of the revelations in WikiLeaks, how up to their eyeballs, Univision and NBC and CBS and CNN and ABC and NBC, they're all extensions of the Clinton campaign, all of them. So, to expect them to do something like this is just ridiculous, because they would never want to expose this. Where do we go from here? Now, I'm going to tweet out a link to your website. I'm linking it to my website, Hannity.com. I'd like to see this go viral. What else is coming out this week? You're implying that we're going to have a lot more coming.
Yes. Tomorrow is a bombshell. I predict it will be used in the debate. We've seen that this election, Trump's getting blowback because he's saying the whole thing's rigged. Well, look at this video and look at the video tomorrow. Sean, I've never seen online grassroots traffic. It's number 1 on Reddit. It's number 1 on Twitter, although Twitter tried knocking me off. Twitter tried banning me. And then they reinstated me when 30,000 people tweeted at Jack Dorsey, the CEO. The thing that you could do, I've started to make this request on the air here, but I'd love to get on your TV program, or even have you put this on your TV program. Forget me. Just the video here of what these guys are saying.
Listen, I'm way ahead. I have to vet all videos through legal, which is just standard operating procedure. There's no conspiracy here, but I've already put that in motion.
Awesome.
But listen,
and we're spreading the message online. Trump actually did put the video on his Facebook, so that's making it just go crazy. Let me just make a statement. I believe that the social media in this country is now becoming more powerful than the mainstream media. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it right now. I'm seeing it in the last week. I'm seeing people angry. They don't believe anything in the Washington Post. They've stopped listening to it. They don't care what the mainstream media has to say. And now the grassroots media, the Reddits, the Twitters, the Facebooks, everyone else is the media is losing their power over the people right now. That's what's happening right now. And this video is the tip of the spear. And there's another one tomorrow.
Can't wait. Maybe we'll have you back on the air tomorrow, and we'll keep chronicling this all week. I do remember saying it was. How do you remember I said that to you 7 years ago? That's funny.
How can I forget Sean Hannity having me on the program saying dot your I's and cross your T's?
Well, because I knew that. By the way, I wasn't wrong in my prediction either that they want to put you in jail. So I think I gave you pretty good advice at the time. And even now, as you get bigger and stronger and more powerful and influential, I would really make sure you keep 7 to 14 lawyers on the payroll.
Yeah, that's actually a rough number. We have a dozen right now, and it's very expensive. Okay. But the thing about it is the media organizations are afraid. Even good people that you know and I know, allies of ours, they're afraid. They're scared because they're publicly traded companies, and it's frightening what can happen to you when the Attorney General of the United States is vindictive and political, which, by the way, that's illegal. But that's the world we live in.
It really is sad. And James O'Keefe, all right, we look forward. We'll have you back tomorrow. You say this is going to be in the debate, what you release tomorrow. Can't wait to see it. Thank you so much for being with us, as always.
Thanks, Sean. Talk to you soon.
Great work. 800-941-SEAN. Listen, don't take my word for it. Look at it yourself. And then you tell me if you're not disgusted by the level of corruption.